Talk Show.
It's the Daily Talk Show, episode 426.
It's Fat Friday and we have Zoë Foster Blake in the studio.
Welcome.
Good to be here.
We've brought out a bit of a spread.
Yes.
Fat Fridays for us is where we just get to let loose. Sometimes it bleeds into the weekend, which is most weekends. You know, when you just start something and you just don't stop.
Yes.
This is it. Just quickly running you through the Fat Friday spread. These cookies here, my wife baked them for us last night.
That is so sweet.
Peanut butter, chocolate chip cookies.
Yes.
I've tried them, so they're all
Yeah,
good.
they're clear.
Yeah, they're
safe.
clear.
I mean, I'm in the doghouse because I made the fridge stink yesterday. So you said you ate the cookies. I went out for a coffee this morning and I got back and he's like, I've already eaten one. So I can't complain.
Well, literally, what do you think of the smell of incense? Do you like incense?
It's okay. Depends how much, I think, is the main thing.
Has it got
a subtle waft is okay.
Has it got a triggering memory for you?
Oh, my mum still burns it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she sends it to me.
Yeah, and so Tommy's mum gave us this 40-year-old incense.
Oh, okay.
And because I've got, like everything in life, I've got no portion control. So I try like 6 of them at a time and see how much we can
Too
get
much.
around. And so it's too much. And so Mr. 97, and you're getting used to nicknames, the reason why he's Mr. 97, can you guess?
I don't want to say. but
Okay, well, he got
I have a hunch.
he got a 97 enter score, like
I
an
wasn't going
ATAR
to say
score.
that. Mate, I was going to say something else.
Oh,
Was it
really?
more relating to
his age,
Buddy
maybe?
Franklin reference? No. That's,
No, maybe when he was born.
He's,
or-
oh, yeah. Well, most people think it is because he is only 19.
baby.
So it's actually quite close to the to the age, right? The other part of our spread, Basil. What we found with Fat Fridays is
We just said Basil, which makes
Hang
no
on, I'll
sense.
get back to it. We get sent food.
Yum.
And Basil messaged me and said, mate, I've got these things. I need you guys to have them for Fat Fridays.
Okay.
Along those lines. And he's
Sounds
brought
urgent. Yes.
in box brownies. This is a Melbourne company that they make these amazing brownies. And, of course, another amazing company, Hey Tiger.
Very familiar. Big fan.
So feel free to grab or not to grab.
So
will.
you saw a movie last night. Is it the Quentin Tarantino one?
Of course.
Okay.
Yes.
And they go for like extremely long period of time.
Oh, yeah, it was really long. And I haven't actually gone, I must see that movie on the day it comes out for a while. But the whole cinema was packed. Also haven't seen that for a while.
To be honest, I thought it came out months ago because they did the US press at release and there was all these promos.
Yeah.
And then I just saw it came out last week or something.
Yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah.
And so, Zoe, you are the founder of Go-To Skincare. You're the chief creative officer.
Yes.
The PR stuff that you do in regards to I find that you're in 1 week you'll be everywhere, and I feel like that would be extremely exhausting in regards to say a book coming out, or is that like a strategy to actually just bulk it all?
Oh, well,
That's
pretty much my policy is to only do press if you've got something out,
Mm-hmm.
because there are opportunities to do press the whole year round if you're interested, and I think you've got to preserve goodwill with the people that care about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I do blocks and it's product launch based or book launch based, and then I go under
Yeah.
and I hide and I do work again.
And so
What's the work in the hiding? I mean, you're writing obviously, but
Actually not writing it currently. I'm really in Go-To needs me at the moment. So we've got a big thing coming out very soon, and it's a big growing company, and there are I'm in charge of all new product development and marketing, and so always things to do. And we're in the US now, so that's a big beast as well.
From the outside, it's a fun brand. Is it fun on the inside? I know you're
Yes.
biased. It is your baby.
I worry about that because I still feel very much like it's fun. Pardon me, but I hope that flows through to all of our employees. And because our office and our warehouse is in Sydney and I'm in Melbourne, I do feel a bit disconnected, but I'm obviously in touch with my staff every day, and I have the managers in there that look after the culture and the people, but I really do hope that they're enjoying themselves.
do you have a certain signs that you know the company is doing well from a cultural point of view if X, Y, and Z is happening?
I think it's a very pertinent question at this time because we've just grown a lot in a small amount of time, and there's that saying that when you scale, you go stale and you lose your culture and your mojo. And I actually read Small Giants on your recommendation to Hamish, and it's an excellent book about companies, small companies, and they don't even have to stay small, but just retaining that culture and mojo, which is the spark. And it's that thing that people go, I'm interested in this company and I want to work for this company, or I want to know what they're doing, and they keep an eye on you because you're doing stuff that's fun and exciting. So my job really as founder, as well as trying to keep the new products coming out and all of that other stuff, is to make sure that our people that work within the company feel proud and they feel like they're successful because they're doing a good job for a good company.
We've talked about, and this week I think we've had like a lot of, we went to Gary Vee and this guy, Grant Cardone, Monday.
I love Gary.
Interesting. It's refreshing to hear a different take on things, but it's very American.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're very big thinking. I took away from it that thinking big, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
When you have a small business, and I've had multiple, and they're still small, but we just called our company big media company, so it makes us feel a bit
that. It's
bigger.
a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah,
but I think the sort of that mentality of staying small, because you could go, the thought around, if we get bigger, we lose the personal touch. But if it becomes successful, if it resonates with an audience, it will become bigger. So it's a hard one. I remember, Josh, when you were young, you didn't want to earn too much money because you didn't want to have to pay too much
about
tax.
the tax bill.
Which is
I don't think I was I don't know, 18K a year. I don't think I was paying any at that point.
Do we trap ourselves with this thinking now that you've got something that has become big? What's the shift for you personally?
Sorry, just to really define what question you're asking.
Yeah, so the thinking big. Have you seen a shift in what you classify as thinking big and what you can actually achieve?
Well, I am not a big thinker by nature, and I don't do plans and forecasts and 3 and 5 year plans, and I think that's probably considered a shitty way to do business. But I don't think you can change how you're wired. And so for all my life, whenever they're like, what's your plan? Where do you see yourself? I can't answer that. And my honest answer is I really believe if you're doing good work today and this week and this hour, and if you send an email that is excellent, and if you do a presentation that's really good and you put everything into it and you just work on that press release and make sure that that's perfect or that product's as best as it can be, then that other shit will take care of itself. So it's a tricky one to be in, because as the founder, you're meant to drive the vision and you're meant to make sure that the company is going in the right direction. And I hope that I'm doing that instinctively because I'm focusing on the now and just doing good work. And that will flow on, because I think that that's how it will take care of itself. But if you said to me, where do you want Go to be in 5 years? I have no idea.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that, because it's I reckon even if you plan it, you can't plan it.
Yeah. Well, you can bring it down to some, I want it to be a great culture and fun. So these are like value sets.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily destination set, destination.
Is it conducive to getting investment or things like that? Or do you have to reframe those other business conversations if maybe success doesn't look like being super, super big?
Well, we're not looking for investors, actually, and I think that's not maybe a popular or a thing that a lot of people are doing, because I think particularly in the American market, that's what people want straight away. We're not looking for investors, so we're small and private, and we can still act, internally and do what we need to do, and I like that. I like having that control. So we're not beholden to anyone in that sense.
Yeah.
So how we choose to grow and what we choose to do is there's a lot of guesswork, of course, but we're bringing in people that are very experienced and helping us, because I believe in outsourcing the skill sets that you're not good at to people who are very good at it.
Yeah, I guess on the other side of the train tracks, you got Jules Lund with investors, and he has to tell them where he's going, which I would feel a huge pressure for that, And I don't even know where I'm going tonight. I've got no idea today.
Like stakeholders, even if you don't have investors, you'll still have stakeholders, I guess. What was the conversation with, like, you've had some great success going into the US and getting into Sephora and things like that. What did you learn in that experience about how you communicate?
Well, when we made the decision to go into Sephora in the States, I had a 5-day-old baby and was still in hospital. And the email came through from my managing director at the time, and he was like, I know I'm not meant to be emailing you, but I think you're going to want to know this one. And to me, Sephora in the States was always like a pie in the sky. Like it was, you'd made it. On reflection now, like seeing how hard the American market is and what a small company we are, we probably sort of thought that through a bit more, and before you go into a huge market like the US, have a bit more of a plan. We have that plan and we're doing that, we're executing that. But when it came to MECCA in Australia, that was a no-brainer, and that had a lot more thought around it and strategic planning.
Did they, like Sephora, like I've had friends who have sold products, like they've been tech products and they've gone into the big box chain sort of stores in the US, and they get squeezed so much on the margins that it gets to a point where it's like actually we're not
Is it
making
worth
that
it?
much money in here.
Yeah.
Is that part of the thought
Oh,
process?
certainly the marketing value and the story is really important. And I think whatever happens to us in the US and however that ends up, I still believe that being seen in the US was a big deal for us, and the value of that story for us back at home, but also for us to get that initial press and that story for the press over there was really valuable, because Sephora is like a tip of the hat. You've made it. They want you. So we're working really hard with Sephora now to make sure that we can deliver what they need, and we're going to do our best.
What does that look? What does that actually look like?
Well, look, it's a really long conversation, and it's something that I think perhaps we're doing well in Australia, and we're loved, and we have a profile here, and I have a profile here, but of course we were nothing over there, and I sort of love that challenge because it means that people took the skincare at face value. It wasn't like, oh, Zoe's made something. It was like, what's this peach stuff? Talk me through it. So I relish the challenge of that. But it's a huge market.
So many people.
So many people. And so many skincare companies doing brilliant stuff. And because I'm based here. So, look, long story short, we're going to get a lot busier over there, and we have some other new things coming out that I think will really help differentiate us.
That's exciting. So the American market, I mean, us learning from these Americans on Monday, is there something that you've learnt from that experience dealing with American business people?
Different.
Yeah.
Well, it's different. It's different even in terms of marketing and how we operate in Australia, and in terms of like our, no influencer policy, for example. Can't do that in America. You have to change.
So what does that mean? What's that no influencer policy?
Well, we
look
just don't pay influencers to talk about go-to here. We're lucky enough that we don't need to.
Yeah.
But in America, it's a different business model, and there's just not much organic happening over there. So you have to do paid, and that for me as a person going, no, but I believe the product is good enough that we shouldn't have to pay people to talk about it.
Yeah.
Bye. So you just have to realign things for each market, and I like learning all of this stuff. I think it's important, and it gives you a more holistic approach to business, and will even help us back here as well.
Was that a rule early days, like, before?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we launched in 2014, and Instagram is still sort of not really nowhere near where it was now. We happen to have cute packaging and cute copy, and that sort of did a lot of the heavy lifting for us. But people like the product and they want to talk about it. So that's just worked really well for us. We've been lucky enough to hit the word of mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you want, right?
Yeah. And we value that, and we value the customer with 100 followers because she's dedicated and loyal to the product and really likes it and speaks about it so beautifully and wholeheartedly. We like dealing with her and talking to her because it's honest and powerful, meaningful.
So an e-com first business, you're right.
Yeah.
Doing that.
An e-com first business, what do you get out of having partnerships and relationships with big companies like MECCA?
Yeah, amazing. So the reach and the broad, I mean, we're having a great time just doing D2C for GoTo for 5 years. We always knew we'd go into retail or bricks and mortar, and MECCA was the obvious choice. We love the way they had to align with what we do, which is education first. We want women to feel confident, and men and whoever else are using skincare. And MECCA do an excellent job of that. Their staff are fantastic at educating you when you go in there. But for us, it was just going, well, people who know about GoTo know how to find us, but we want to get to that next level where people who've never heard of us can find us. So we have a really amazing, hardcore, beautiful, loyal following of GoTo followers, and they will always be there, but we wanted to show other people about the brand, and MECCA were the beautiful vessel for that.
And when you're doing those sort of deals, how much of that is you leading it versus people within your business leading that?
I'm not.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we do those prelims where I'm like, I make the call and go, this is the right one for us, and I believe in the company, and I really like MECCA and Joe and have for a long time. It's just about timing more so, and so then I hand it over to the contract people.
Yeah.
What you guys fight it out.
What did you want to do? What did you want to be when you were growing up?
A copywriter, which was a weird thing for a girl in a very rural area in New South Wales. But I just had this idea of wanting to write advertising copy, and then did a terrible stint of work experience and put a hat on that and was like, no, that's not for me. And then I knew that I liked writing, and I just didn't really even care where. So once I finished uni, I just applied for at a fishing magazine, at a golf magazine, Ralph magazine, whatever would take me. I didn't even really understand what the roles were. Like, what is a sub-editor? I don't know. I'll apply.
What was the work experience like?
Well, it was underwhelming in one word. I did some time at Novotel because I thought I might want to work in hospitality management. I ended up cleaning spoons for a week. Polishing.
With vinegar? With vinegar?
No.
I thought they put vinegar on them so they don't stain.
Maybe at the park.
Well, it's actually been a huge
the park hide, fancy ones.
Tommy doesn't realise the amount of tension the whole vinegar thing has, because he left probably it looked like a 4-week old meal in the fridge, which had completely gone disgusting.
Rancid.
And it was basically stinking out the whole office. So Mr. 97, 3D Dill and I last night were trying to make this.
Yeah, because it requires 3 adults to cater to that.
Yeah, and so anyway, we're fighting over whether to use vinegar or bicarb soda.
I think it's, well, either.
But we ended up going with the bicarb soda.
Yeah, bicarb seems to be the classic.
Yeah, anyway. So you're cleaning spoons.
Cleaning spoons, and then I worked at a modelling agency, and I have no idea why. I still don't know why. I think they also managed artists, and my father's an author, and they managed him, and so I just sat there for a week looking at beautiful women come in and out and go, did I think I would be one of them? Why am I here? Because I found it glamorous. Anyway, I did end up working in women's magazines. So there was something about writing and glamorous women that fit together. But I worked at kids mags and music mags and so on before I got there.
Yeah. I think all those steps, right? Even working at the Novotel into the next. They're all like these. We're falling over into the next part of our journey.
I did do a proper internship when I was at uni, though, at a magazine, at a publishing house, and that was probably useful, actually useful, because I was a proper intern doing copy and writing and so on.
So when we're younger, we probably have more. I mean, we're probably open to making more of those fumbles and stumbles along the way. When you're getting to finding your thing and you've written your first book, and then you're starting go-to, does it feel like you lose that ability to be able to go, I'm going to now go over there? Because when you've got not much happening, you can't. You can go anyway.
Yeah.
But when you have more going on,
I don't care what the project is, and it's hard because people go, hang on, what do you do? Like sometimes when I do press, they're like, and what are you here for? Like, what have you done? Like what field are you in? Because I write about relationships or beauty, and I make products and so on and kids stuff. But I don't think you should box yourself in at all. If there's a project that excites you, do it.
Yeah.
And so even with The Wrong Girl doing some TV writing and so on, it was really just an amazing avenue to be able to dip my toe into that and see if I wanted to do TV writing in the most obviously privileged way, which is it was your book and there was a room full of incredible writers to sort of help you and play with you, and they did all the work. I just sat there. But I don't. The project can be anything. I think you should always try new things and never just go, well, I'm just this, or I love that
because it's the opposite of stay in your lane, right? Because I think a lot of it.
But I think you need to know what your superpower is, because that goes through everything. It feeds through all of those things. So
it's
mine
like
is
the
obviously
through line, right?
Yeah, the writing is the thing. And I honestly use projects. I think because I still wanted to be a copywriter, so I think I use projects just to write copy. I actually think I made GoTo just to write the copy.
Yeah, I mean, that's your Instagram account, right? It's like it's like the Playboy magazines. People read it for the captions, not for the photos.
Don't worry about the photos. Only there was a social media medium that didn't have photos. Yeah. It's a cesspit. It's called Twitter.
I mean, why is Twitter so fucked?
Oh, it's angry, isn't it? I'm not really on there anymore.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, because it's something that links out to a bunch of stuff. So it's got this element of everyone, I guess, needs to have an opinion on there. Your relationship with social media, how do you keep it being this something that is positive versus, I mean, I retired for social media for 6 months because I was like, it was meant to be forever, but I got over it.
He's back with vengeance.
I'm going quite hard at the moment.
Food
exactly. We don't even talk about it. That's a private account. But I mean, what is your relationship with social media?
I have chosen to view it as positive and as chiefly work-based. I think I feel like there's some trick we don't know about, because Instagram just seems like, as someone who's creating things and asking people to spend money on them, having a billboard like that is ridiculous. And it's free.
Yeah.
And I just get to talk to people and engage with them and write stuff and play with them and talk, recommend things, and have that digital back fence that I really craved, and which is why I started blogging in 2006, just to have that dialogue. So I choose to view it as something that is purposeful and useful for me. I do put up photos of my life and my family and my holidays and my work, but that's who I am. That's, but I like Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm very limited on my time on it now. I delete the app and dive back in a couple of times a day because I just found I was spending too much time just mindlessly scrolling and not paying attention to what any of it was.
So do you have the app anymore? Or do you downloaded it?
I have to re-download it every time.
So that's a big process. So
and it's annoying. So it's deliberately annoying.
Okay, no, I like that. Yeah. I guess you work these things out, right? Because I think the conversation we've had with a lot of people is about their relationship with things like social media, and some just have a non-complicated one.
Yeah.
Some have a really complicated one.
Yeah.
And then you got to put in the boundaries.
Yeah.
I mean, for you, Josh, coming back from the retirement, I mean, you've gone full throttle. The foot is on the floor. You're getting a bit.
Oh, God.
Well, Brie asked, while I was on my phone last night, what my screen time was, which was, I guess, probably a reflection of how much time I'm spending on it. But it is interesting because I think we're all different as well. I mean, the advice culture that we're in at the moment, it's like it actually, the opposite is normally true. Like our friend Gemma Watts, like she spends heaps of time on Instagram, and she's like, it doesn't bother me at all.
And that is 100% her job.
Yeah.
Like that's how I learned about Gemma is Instagram.
Yeah.
And that's how I find people, and I clearly had a problem because I've had to delete the app.
Well, that's it. And I was literally saying this to Tommy yesterday. I'm like, look at how happy Sarah Holloway is. And look how much she posts on Instagram. Surely I can post that much and still be happy.
How much is she posting that?
A lot. There's a lot of
once a week.
Yeah, and so there's the spectrum, right? You can do. I guess there's an assumption that if posting too much can be bad for you, but there's heaps of great examples of people who are super fulfilled, super happy, serving their audience.
Yeah, serve your audience. That's it. And I treat stories and real posts as very different beasts. So I do real posts in a bunny ears. They're more rare and I sort of think about those ones a bit more and make sure that the photo's nice. But I am a huge proponent of recommending stuff. And if I find something that I like, I want to tell people about it. And stories is a wonderful platform for that. I'm not telling stories. Like I think some people are brilliant at actually doing a bit of a narrative. Like I did this today and here's, oh my God, and now this has happened. And these are really good content producers. Don't look for that for me. Just, oh my God, I've made a playlist. Why don't you listen to it? Or I read this book, or this TV show is amazing, or have you eaten here? And
it's that word of mouth, right?
Yeah, because I wish people would just fucking tell me that shit. Yeah. Especially when I was pregnant, I didn't know anything, and I was craving that stuff. And then when I fell pregnant, I had problems and so on. I'm just like, just do this. This is the pram you need.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the other ones.
Yeah.
You just want someone to tell you. And working in magazines for so long, you get used to being the editor for people. And I like being the editor for people if it can save them time and money.
Is that your pushback on the no paid influencer stuff, do you think? Your personal relationship with recommendations?
A pushback? Oh, I don't really have a pushback. I just do it. I think that, again, going back to why I started blogging, because I was writing for magazines and I was getting 4 pages per month in a huge magazine to write about beauty, and it wasn't enough because I was just thrilled with beauty and wanted to write about it endlessly. So I just took it offline, took it private and started writing about it because I was like, this is the red lipstick that you need.
Yeah.
Do you even know? And just going on these huge rants about just one product. And this was, paid, nothing was paid.
Yeah.
Back then it just didn't exist. But no, I have a business. That's where my income comes from.
Yeah.
So I have the luxury of not needing to ask people for money to talk about things.
Was that the fork in the road? Yeah, was that a fork in the road though? Like earlier in because I guess with where the Daily Talk Show's at, we're trying to work out how do we monetize? Like how do we just make a living? How do we survive while doing what we love?
There's great ways to do it, and I think people just want you to be honest. That would be my main thing. Make your money. To me, there's a huge feminist part of girls making money from putting makeup on in their bedrooms. I love that.
Yeah.
Great. Do it. And it's however you want to roll. Making a business out of Instagram, I love this. This is wonderful. So do it. And I just think it's about being honest and never, ever taking your audience for granted. I respect my audience and I'll always keep them aware of what I'm doing because I realize that you only have finite goodwill points.
Oh, definitely.
And so for me, I'm already telling them to buy a book, buy a moisturizer, buy this. Like, that's enough.
Do you think that during your, I guess we have to not make mistakes, but we go through when we push and pull and work out what fits.
Yeah, and you can evolve. You can change this all the time. Like, I might change my mind about this in a year's time. And I think, you know, when you look at, like, for me, it's newsletters. I think I love good newsletters because I've opted in and the content is useful and I really enjoy that. And I've brought it into my world and I like it. And I think there are really clever ways to monetize and you can just be really honest about it. Like, this is paid for.
Yeah.
Opportunities in life. So you could look at Instagram as an opportunity. You could look at writing or making videos as opportunities to take you on. But what about what's it been for you when it comes to creating opportunities in the early days?
Do you create opportunities or is it like that intersection of hard work and luck?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you believe in luck, I believe in luck, but it's the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yes.
Sam Kavanagh, Jules Lunn, they used to say that to me, and I get it.
Yeah, I agree.
I've taken an opportunity, so it's an opportunity to use a platform like YouTube to make videos, and then it sort of gathers that momentum. What were the opportunities that you took up?
Well, I found an audience, like, because I had the thing about magazines back in 2004, 5, 3, whatever, is that it was one-way traffic. So you were writing and you had no idea if anyone was even caring, listening, what was resonating. Again, why I started a blog, because I wanted to know what was hitting and I wanted to talk to people. And I liked there was no editor. You could write forever. So I think before I was even aware of it, I was finding an audience back then. And that audience was really instrumental in the rest of my career because I was one of those early adopters. And I think the early adopters had that huge privilege of just being first. Didn't mean we were better by any means. We just happened to be first at that time in Australia in terms of blogging. And I wasn't first on Instagram or Twitter or any of those things, but having a digital following was so useful when you launch a brand or when you create a book. And so I think opportunities come because you work hard and you have an audience.
I feel like a real fraud. I've never blogged in my life, and I blog, therefore I am.
That's one of my cups.
Jeez.
I mean, that's my cup.
So you blog?
It doesn't actually hold that much coffee, which is like part of the issue with them. It's quite a narrow.
A blogger needs this much.
Exactly. I just look like a real wanker, to be honest.
No, I like it. I think it's great. It's your cup now. I mean, you're a craftsperson as well. I think that's like part of it, which is like the writing and all that sort of thing. It's not, I want to build an audience. It's, I want to express myself and write and that sort of thing. I guess that's, do you think that people miss the mark? Are there people misinterpreting the building the audience versus the craft and how important it is?
Great question. I think it's a marriage of both, and I think you can choose to focus on one or the other. But I think, like I was saying before, for me, writing is such a joy and playing with people. So when I construct sentences, whether it's an Instagram caption or a blog or in a book, I do it to please myself, but I'm also very aware that there's an audience on the other side of that. And I'm hopeful. And like even with Instagram, you get that feedback going, I loved this. This worked for me, whether it was Breakup Boss, which is the one I by far get the most content feedback back on. But yeah, so I'm aware of the audience, but I'm still selfishly writing for me, and I do projects that I want to do. I think you have to. I think that's the selfishness of blogging, is that you thought that what you were writing was important enough that you had to do it every day.
Well, I mean, I think your email is a testament to that, because whenever you send an email, it's always crafted so beautifully. I feel like whenever I'm writing back to you, it's like there's always a level of pressure of being like, or not even pressure.
I'm making lift. See, that's what you want.
I mean, it's the thing of like, oh, this is fun. Like what, like you can have fun with the email and stuff.
Well, it's your skill. And for me, it doesn't feel like work. It feels fun, and you're a good audience because you're playful and you're chatty and so on, and you're in the media. So but not every email to my team is that delightful.
Yeah, sure.
Sometimes it's just work, but I try and make it fun.
My wife's comment about your content, because I asked her, she's not just coming to me. She says it's very
it's a content meeting about Zoë.
Yeah, we do. It's a pre-show catch up. Yeah. She says it's very relatable, and I think that, from what it sounds like, comes from you thinking about what is going on in your head and personally, and that's our best shot at relating with somebody else is talking about what's going on for us. One of the most relatable pieces of content on your Instagram is your bit about cold sores.
Oh, me? Yeah, I know.
I grew up.
I got no problem with being the cold sore queen.
Oh, I tell you who's the cold sore king? Michael Jacket, my brother.
Oh, Jacko.
Oh, my God.
I didn't know.
Should see the family photo album. It's nearly every photo the kid's got a cold sore.
Oh, God.
And I got them, and I just and this is so unrelatable for you, Josh, because you don't get that. He thinks it's just this. You know, the people that just do that to people with cold sores.
Bastard.
Oh, you're disgusting.
So discriminatory. It's horrible.
It is, but
we can't help it.
It's this full on. Like
I
getting
once got like a little pimple that I thought was a cold
mate.
sore.
Oh, you know when people think they're getting a cold sore and they're like, oh, you'd know.
The thing in the corner of the mouth. No, you just
that's just your
down.
low. Yeah.
Well, that's why I started having
levels.
orange juice. No,
Do you know what you
vitamin
need
C.
to put on that, by the way?
What is
Because I
it?
was putting other things on it. You need to put a bit of cortisol cream on there.
on the corner.
Because
Of
I was like,
the,
oh, yeah, because you've got
crack
like
corners.
you're eating bad food and you've got a deficiency.
Or unleaded petrol, I believe, helps.
Oh, okay. So my cold sore tips.
But growing up, I remember it was such a. I remember I wouldn't go to school because of
No.
cold sore. It's funny,
It
and
was
then
social death. It was the worst.
as I've gotten older, I almost embrace them. If I get them, I'm like, whatever. I'm
I'm
grown.
Kisses me- human,
He kisses
damn
me
it.
on the lips like those days. Just
No,
walks
that's
in.
Too far.
Mum used to kiss me on the lips because she knew that it would make me feel better. She's like, "It's okay, darling, a little peck on the lips." I mean, so then that was a very relatable piece.
That's very sweet.
Of
Oh
content.
yeah, I mean, they plagued my whole high school career, and I had one for the Logies a few years ago, which
no.
was sort of my worst nightmare. That or a wedding day, and as most people know, now that we've talked about it, we're bound to get one.
Yeah,
Is that how it works?
Yeah,
Well,
but
yeah.
I know what works because unfortunately, I live and I work in an industry where I'm not allowed to have a bad skin day. And people often, if they meet me, they're like, "Oh, I did my makeup extra nice today." And I'm like, "No, you look beautiful, but I know that you're scrutinizing me because I'm the one who's going out there going, hey, everyone, let's have great skin."
Yeah.
So yeah, but I was just like, I don't have time for cold sores. I have to find a fix, and I do believe that I have. And I put it in highlights because everyone keeps asking about it.
Yeah, I mean,
Which is so gross.
So
when you think
the
about it.
fix being the Famvir tablets.
Yeah, take the antiviral tablets ASAP. Like I always have them on me, and then the Compeed patches.
Yeah,
Don't take them off.
yeah.
Just for shower, put them straight back on.
Sorry, unrelatable.
No,
chat,
this is
Josh.
So
great.
I'm
This is
so
great
sorry to gross
content.
you out like this.
This is very
It
good.
is. People will want to know.
No, they
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Absolutely do. The you were talking about the scrutiny of people looking at your face or whatever.
It's not scrutiny. Sorry, scrutiny is too strong a word. But I think that's what's going to
what you
happen
said.
if you put yourself. I did say that. No, for me to have said.
Okay, yeah,
but
no,
if you're going to
sorry.
put yourself out there and tell people what to do with their lives
Yeah,
and their
sure.
skin and their face, then yeah.
It's
I mean-
the personal trainer, that
Yeah,
that
exactly.
You look to the
or the
person-
hairdresser.
Yeah,
the hairdresser.
Yeah.
I mean, my hairdresser is bald.
Yeah. Or I mean,
He's
yeah,
just
that's,
gone. I'm
yeah,
not dealing with this anymore.
I mean, it does take the pressure off, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, there is something about. Is there anything in life that you typically undersell and over deliver on? It's a specific question, but I know when I was a kid as a freelancer, I was the hype king, being like, "Mate, I'll have it to you Monday," and then Thursday, I'm like, "I fucked up." I mean, are you good with deadlines in that way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, to write a book, you have to be good at deadlines. Although, I mean, the stereotype is that we're not. And I'm one of those people who can have internal deadlines that I can stick to. And I've actually, for the first time in my life, in over 10 years, I've gone off contract with my books. And I did that deliberately because I wanted to write fiction again for the joy of it and the love of it, with no marketing schedule in mind.
Is that an upholder? Does that make you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I am.
Mm-hmm.
What's the value there? So that you hold personally.
No, does anyone know what that means?
Yeah.
No.
It's
Upholder.
the Four Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin. Is it
Yeah.
Gretchen Rubin? Yeah. But I think it's like one of those things of I'm a
Obligate.
yeah.
Oh,
I'm the
yeah,
one
yeah,
that
yeah.
like will do stuff. I'll say yes, and then I'll get really annoyed about it, and I'll push back on it, but then I'll do it anyway.
Yeah,
but I'll be
right.
annoyed.
Oh, I think that's called resentment.
Definitely a
I'm
little
good
bit
at
of
that
that.
too.
So for me, I think it's like I don't like to say anything that I won't do, and then I
Yeah,
feel
that's
like.
good. That's a good thing to
Yeah,
be.
it is. It is.
But what I realise in a business partnership is that's not Josh's value necessarily. We've all got our own set of
Yeah, of
values,
course.
right? And so it's like a
I
partner.
pick my
think.
battles.
Yeah, right.
You know,
He can hear you. It's just there.
What's a value that you hold true to yourself, Zoe?
I just think if you're going to do it, do it do it well,
Mm.
do your best. And I have a hell no policy. So if it's a hell yes policy. So with my management, we get a lot of lovely opportunities in office, and I'm pretty much like, and I can't remember who it was. I think it was on
Derek Sivers
Yes.
talks about it, from CD Baby.
Well, him,
Yeah.
yes, but then there's the 7.
Uh-huh.
So it was on another podcast, God knows which one, but they said, think of this project out of a 1 to 10, but you're not allowed to use 7 on how much you want to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And then if you're an 8, it's a yes. If you're a 6, it's a no.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think Tim Ferriss talks about it. It's one of those
But it's
ones
not
where-
his thing,
Yeah,
but he
yeah,
talks
yeah,
about
yeah.
it. It's from someone else.
It's one of those it is a
It's Kevin Kline or
it's
something like that.
it's a very clever way of distinguishing the bullshit radar
Yeah.
on things.
And it's your own bullshit radar. But since I've had children and I've got a business, I'm like, I just don't have spare time. So the projects have to be pretty amazing to do them.
Spare time and friendships and all that sort of thing. I feel like as I'm getting older, I can't tell whether it is productive or unproductive to become more insular or just
Yes.
I've got this
'Cause
dream
you can
of
think it's, I'm just understanding myself more.
just deep work.
know.
I don't
You
have
can
time
write
for
whatever
anyone.
you want, whatever narrative you want for it.
And so I'm trying to work out, what is that? What's your relationship with that idea?
Heavy introvert and very fine with that. Married to a heavy extrovert.
Mhm.
And we sometimes just have a little alignment of that because he could work a monster week and his idea of relaxing after that would be to go out to dinner with 10 people. And mine would be put my soft clothes on and have a glass of wine and sit on the couch. And so I sometimes just go, hey, you married a writer who lived by herself. Yeah. Just remember who you married because that's who I am. But I am aware that I can become quite a hermit, particularly when I'm writing and just being with the kids and the family. And so I went to an event yesterday of a friend's product launch, which I never ever go to. And I always sort of drag my feet. And then once I'm there and I get home, I got 3 amazing things happen. I was looking for, something and someone had a recommendation and I met a great person and I'm just like, do that shit more.
Yeah.
You have to connect sometimes and not just on Instagram, real life people.
So is it about pushing against what is natural to you? Should the introvert be trying to be an extrovert?
But I can be. I think that we're all mixers, but I can be very extroverted. But it's just how you
exhausting
recharge.
though.
Yeah.
I guess
one feels more comfy than the other.
Well, 'cause
naturally, I think.
You're an extrovert, TJ.
Yeah, I'd say, but I reckon I've started to become more since having a kid and doing.
It's just called being tired.
I'm just tired and I want to go to
Yeah.
bed. But I definitely think, I don't really want to. Yeah. I'm focusing on this, and I got my wife, and that thought of getting home with my family is so
beautiful.
lovely.
Yeah, and do that. But I think it's more, isn't it more how you recharge? That's the true definition of an intro and extra. I'm not sure. But you can go out and have an amazing day or time, but then you've got to, so if I do a day of press, afterwards I'm a shell. I can't talk because you've just given so much energy all day. And I think that's true of anybody. But yeah, I think it was a good reminder yesterday to sometimes just get out there. Stop being such a home person.
Is it booking it in advance that gives you the anxiety, do you think? If you booked it out?
I hate booking in advance. I don't. It's probably Seth who says, you can't book things that far out because you look at your calendar and you're like, I don't have anything on in October. Of course I can do that.
And they get
you get to October and you're very, very busy.
Yeah. Well, I asked you about this, I think, in May. So I did my own trick on you.
Busy.
And we actually saw her walking past and grabbed her to come in.
But I'm much more likely to say yes that week.
100%.
Yeah.
Than far out.
Yeah, it is because it's the anxiety, it's the thinking about it beforehand that sort of builds up.
Yeah.
But then there's also the other thing, which there's a certain trait, and probably Haim would be more likely to do it, and Tommy would do it as well, which is just adding extra people to a dinner or something. For instance, I'm very funny with I did a world trip for 3 months with a mate, and he did like that. He's like, more is better.
Okay.
And it was that's a nightmare. So it's anyone, if you have someone, if you're inviting someone to dinner or whatever, it freaks me out if all of a sudden someone else has rocked up.
Yeah, I think in my heart, I'm a rules and a routine person, and that makes me nervous when I've booked a table for 4 and that can only fit 4. And Haim's always like, don't worry, they'll be fine. They'll just find another chair. And I always like it at the end.
Yeah.
I always enjoy it, but my brain resists anything that's outside of those.
So is the resisting productive in any way?
No, it's a total waste of energy.
Surely there's. I want it to be productive.
No, it's not. It's stupid.
Yeah.
So with all my worry and my parental anxiety, it's bullshit. As soon as you have a kid,
Yeah.
I was never an anxious person.
Yeah.
And now I'm one of those people.
Well, you can't. Yeah. You can't survive if you were to be the kid, like how much ambiguity is. Yeah, they're just running around. Next minute, he's shat over there. And anyway, that's another story.
I was more thinking about them falling off the plaything.
There's that
breaking
too.
their arm.
There's that too. Hobbies. Have you got any? And it can't be writing, and it can't be.
That's not a hobby. That's absolutely not a hobby. It's work.
It's
but
good.
it's enjoyable work. Hobbies is such an 80s word. What does that even mean?
Yeah,
now?
we actually looked it up, what hobbies meant. It's what you do in the time outside, your spare time. So it's, what are the things you do in your spare time?
Well, it's just being off. It's just having no plans. And like on the weekend, our family are just pretty much at home the whole time, all together on bikes or, going to have pancakes or something. We just go in. And I know that will change once the kids are doing sport and stuff like that, but we really love that stuff. And we see family and friends or whatever, but I don't like to lock in plans if I can. I do a ton of reading because I think that makes you a better writer, although it makes me jealous sometimes 'cause it's so fucking good.
I mean, what is that feeling? Because there's been a couple of times over the last few months where I caught myself feeling down on myself based on someone else's success.
Yes.
And I was like, and it was so, and the thing was that I was so happy for them, and it was such a reflection, like, you fucking idiot, why didn't you do this or that?
It's too hard.
I mean, so how do you reconcile
I think it's
those
inspiring. So I remember when Haim and I saw Scott Pilgrim years ago, and we both sat there just clenching the seat, going, "Fuck, so good!"
Yeah.
And with a piece of art or a book or a TV show like Big Mouth, when we watch that, we're just like, "Oh, this is so good!" Or Russian Doll or Euphoria, an amazing TV show or whatever it is. I get inspired by that, and I think it's that so funny you don't laugh because you're just sitting there going, "Okay, all right, this is great. This is going to make me lift my game." So I don't get down on myself. I just go, "I'm going to need a new standard now."
Yeah.
And I honestly put myself in the most ridiculous company because I'm like, "Oh, geez, Tina Fey is good. I should be better."
Yeah.
It lifts me, makes me want to do better.
It's energy. It is. If you're just looking at it, the negative or the positive, like you
so
could
what
probably
is energy?
Yeah.
So if you think about energy, because we're even talking about like Mr. 97 and I were talking the other week where it's like, I have moments of slight, how would you describe it, TJ? You experience me better than I experience myself.
Manic.
Well, yeah, a little bit manic. A little bit like, we need to be doing this, we need to be changing that, all that sort of thing. And it moves us forward and it gets us doing things, but it feels like, it feels sort of productive at the end. I'm like, oh, look, we got the thing done and like everyone sorted their shit out because I felt that way. But it would be nice if there was an easier way without having to like make people feel sick.
I've got no advice on that because I do the exact same thing.
Yeah. So
if I'm one of those assholes that has an idea or sees something and emails my marketing director and goes, "We need to do this."
Yeah.
And it will be great. And I just throw her sideways when she was on an amazing trajectory already that was well thought out and planned and scheduled. And some of those ideas, they do move you forward and they are clever and they're great. But it's that, classic trope of the founder who's, wild and can't be tamed and has the ideas. And I reckon I have probably, maybe 10 ideas a day and 9 are stinkers. But it's worth having the ideas just to move one of them forward.
At what point do you know it's a good idea? And do you know it's a good idea?
If it sticks, like often we'll have a meeting a week later and they'll be like, "Okay, so here's the bones of the project that you were talking about." I'm like, "What is this?" And they're like, "Oh, this was the thing that you wanted to do." And I'm like, "Really?" Oh, I'm so painful. I would hate to work under me in those circumstances because it would just be such a waste of energy. So now I'm like, hey, don't work too far on anything unless we've like really talked about it and I've gone, this is great.
I mean, what have you learnt about yourself through having a team?
Well, I've now got a marketing director who is so great and so experienced and so good at handling me and understanding when I'm just I'm just spitballing and when I actually mean it and there's a good idea. And it's when she picks up her pen, she's like, when she writes it down, I'm like, okay, that was a good one. But otherwise she's like, yep, okay. So it's finding people who understand you and know how to sort of read you. And
does it feel like, I guess part of it is that those moments of extreme anxiety or like having a certain energy gets the result that you want. And so it's like working out, if that becomes your standard, then sometimes it might not feel like people are understanding how passionate or important you think X, Y, and Z is unless you bring that energy.
No, I don't think I feel that way. I think I often have my best ideas when I'm meant to be doing something else. So classic is sitting in the board meeting for GoTo and they're talking about financials or something, and I will have astonishing ideas at that time because I'm so bored. And it's that thing of for a lot of people who are creatives that when their brain is meant to be doing something, or it's going for a run or having a shower, when your brain is busy doing something else, then the actual creativity comes. So you can't sit me in a meeting and go, okay, what are we going to do for our next, pop-up truck or whatever it is. I'm not going to give it to you in that moment. It's going to come when I'm walking my daughter to school.
Do you have more board meetings now just so you can have ideas?
Yeah, they're like, all right, we're going to put a board meeting on.
Yeah.
And they're like, whoa.
I mean, I've got it. I mean, are these just stories that we're telling ourselves that this is the place? It could be for when the moon's over here and I've had half a cup of water, I can make the best videos.
You can tell yourself anything you want. It's rubbish.
Yeah.
But I do believe that there is a lot of literature that supports that brain switch between, a rote activity and the creativity coming. Whereas when you sit down with a pen and paper and go, I must be creative, it doesn't often hit.
Is there a way that you can get perspective very quickly? Have you worked out a way of
I need a bit of time, like even a night's sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Like I made a big decision yesterday and already this morning I'm like, nah. But I didn't tell anyone, so that's a good one.
Yeah, well, this is the first moment. Oh, you didn't tell them about the idea.
No.
I get that. What about for your writing? That's something that it takes a lot of effort to get into the headspace. Is what I think. This is my story right now. What is it for you as an author?
Oh, well, for nonfiction, no. Nonfiction feels very easy. It's like writing a lot of columns or essays, which I've done a lot of. But I'm about to do fiction again and it's been about 6 years. So I am feeling a bit nervous and I really want to do something good. And I'm telling myself it's going to be great. And so I just got to start. But I'm making excuses. I'm like, well, I can't start until this new product launches over because we're all very busy. And, I just want to sort out Sunny's school for next year. And then once that's done. So I am holding up. But I know also that once I'm in. And I'm committed. And it's like when a fiction book is rolling in me, it's like I'm a medium. Sorry, I wish there was a better way to explain it. But it's like the information just flows through me, and then
flow.
It is flow. It's flow, and like Breakup Boss, I think I wrote most of it in a weekend, and I think I felt in my waters that I was pregnant, but I hadn't done the piss test yet. This was with Rudy, and so I knew that as soon as I got pregnant, I would have morning sickness and I wouldn't be able to write. So I said to him, "You're on Sunny for the whole weekend," and I just sat like the possessed, and I got like 30,000 words out.
Wow!
But I think I just knew that it had to get done.
Can you manufacture that?
No, I don't think so. I think I can't. And I'm a deadline person. Like when the book's due, I can write, like 10, 20,000 words in 2 hours. 2 days just to get it done. But that flow, no, it's coffee, it's time, it's space. And when you've got young children, to get that clean headspace to write fiction is really hard.
Consistency for us has been a big one. Just showing up and doing this show is,
but well done.
Thank you.
This is big.
The rule is we can't miss one, and I would feel so guilty if we missed one.
I was like, what if I cancel?
Yeah. Oh no, we will still do one.
I'd stop the show. They talk so long.
No, but I was like, what do they do? Because they commit. So
no, we'd do it.
Yeah, we still do it. I mean, we don't like our mate Jordan Michaelides, who'd organised Gary Vee to be on his podcast.
Yeah.
Teased it.
Oh no.
And then he fucking pulled the pin. And so the lesson, that's one of the lessons that we have, which is like when we had organised Seth Godin in New York, until that shit was recorded in the can and ready to exist and click publish, we're not fucking talking about it because we were going to jinx it. So
I still can't believe he did that.
Yeah.
He's the god of our house.
It was a bizarre experience. I mean, that could have gone pear-shaped though. That could have been. Yeah. I mean, we flew to New York for it.
Well, I said we were going to be in New York. I said we're going to be in New York.
You played it cool, like we're just hanging out.
We're just going to be in New York at this time.
The best thing was I didn't
near your house.
I didn't ask Josh if it was all good because when you don't ask somebody because you know that then they will be, because Josh turns out hadn't emailed Seth until we were in New York.
Oh,
well, I didn't want to overflow his inbox, and so I was just like, let's just be cool about it. What's the worst case scenario? And so. Yeah,
he's in Denmark and he can't do it.
No, well, he'd locked it in a few months earlier or whatever, and so it was all good as gold. And so I felt very confident about it. But it's interesting because it is that getting guests and getting people on board there's a huge amount of respect that you need to bring to all of that. And I guess that's part of it, which is it's not all just like you can't always just be thinking about your outcome. Like, so for us, we're thinking about we need to know this sort of stuff. And for me, I was thinking for Seth, that's just another thing that he needs to respond to.
Seth's another one of consistency. His blog that he puts out every day. How many words? 20 something million words.
The other day,
yeah. Crazy. And he didn't set out. He said, I didn't set out to do this every day, and I can't remember the day that it became every day. Yeah. And for us, we can remember those times. But I think in bringing it back to the consistency, is there something that you've used, that mantra of consistency, of showing up? And
it just all went out when the kids came, because I did have a great I'd get up early and write before emails started to come in, and that's that beautiful quiet time in the house when, I didn't even put my email on, because email is the biggest distraction for me, to the point where I've got an out of office on saying I don't read my emails and talk to these people, which is a great line of defense. But yeah, I don't really have that routine anymore. And I used to do Saturday mornings 6 till 10, which was always a great time to write, because again, there's nothing coming into your inbox and life's a bit less crazy than weekdays. But since I've had the kids and waking up early and being on them, it's not there anymore. So I have to manufacture it, and it's not when my brain operates best. So I'm going to have to be one of those people who wakes up earlier than the children, which is like horrible.
That's going to be hard.
So what does that actually mean for you then?
Well, even if I did 6 to like 6:45, I could get some good stuff done, because that is my flow time. You just don't get it as a parent. Yeah,
because you actually got an external office for a bit, didn't you?
I do. No, I've got it,
You still got
I
it,
have to have it, and I don't use it enough, but the times when I use it, it's the only way I got my last book finished, was to have that, because, I've got a 2-year-old at home, and if she knows you're there, she wants to play with you, and I want to play with her. Yeah. So on the days that I have a nanny, I'll have 3 days a week where I can work and do my business and my writing, and I need to do it and get out of the house.
What needs to be set up in the office space? What's the vibe?
Oh, just a desk. I've written many books at just a desk, but it's a nice vibe. Like, it's because I have my team have meetings there and so on, but it just feels nice. There's a candle and good Wi-Fi.
It sounds uncomplicated.
It is uncomplicated.
Because we complicate everything.
Yeah.
Usually. And that sounds really
I don't need shit to write. I just need actually a laptop.
Well, really, you only need the pen, the paper, or a laptop.
Yeah, laptop. Yeah.
But I think it's the fountain pen, it's the moleskin book.
I'm shocking with actually writing with a fountain pen. Like my handwriting is horrendous, but it is a nice pen.
Yeah, I like it.
So I'm trying to push through the barrier of being
being teased.
Yeah, but I think so it's doing bad handwriting that I can't read.
It sounds like the stage you're at with the kids and where your previous routines, that it seems like you won't be able to use any of these excuses if you actually want to do it, right?
No. So I won't. And maybe that's why I said I'll go off contract for this one. I don't want to be beholden to a timeline, because it might take a very short time, or it might take a very long time. But I think what I've got to do now is go back to compartmentalising. So I used to have a sit-stand desk, and I would stand for comms and I would sit for writing. And then I tried 2 different laptops. So one was for writing and one was for comms. And I've tried to create all these things. And you listen to a podcast and you're like, that's going to be the fix. Yeah. And it's not. So what I have to do is go back to days of the week. So, Monday is my go-to day, and Friday can be my writing day. And I have to do that, and I have to do that, and I have to commit to myself. Not to anyone else, that's fine. Go-to will always, I'll get my work done, but for the book,
What about like the cyclical nature of creativity as well? Like I noticed that winter in Melbourne bothers you a fair bit, being from Sydney.
It's like, go away for it. That's much better.
I mean, has that been something from a lifestyle design point of view around creativity and what's important? I'm curious as to some of those non-negotiables throughout the year that you may have created.
Oh, I think it's just a human, like, I just need something to look forward to and to warm my bones, because I'm not used to 7 months of winter. And low grey skies sort of do my head in. I think I do probably have a bit of seasonal affective disorder. Like, I need, for the kind of shit I do, let's be honest, it's frothy, it's light, it's fun. And I remember when Haim was doing a film in New Zealand in Invercargill, which is very low and very cold and very quiet. And I went over there and I said, I'll come, because this is pre-kids. And I was like, I'll just come and write a book while you're there, because you'll be busy all day, and I'll just knuckle down. And I realised very quickly that I need treats to work. I need to be able to do 2 hours of work and then go, I've earned a croissant.
Yeah, great.
And go
Yeah,
to a cafe and get that.
I can relate.
Yeah. And I do. And I was in an area where I couldn't have that carrot dangling, and it was terrible. But also I was trying to write, I think it was The Younger Man, and I was trying to write this sassy chick lit book, and I was in a little bit of hell.
Really?
I mean, I don't think people who didn't grow up in Sydney get it, or if you've lived there. Amy,
you
my
don't
wife,
really get a winter. Yeah.
it's so different. We lived in Bondi for a while. 3D Deal was up
gorgeous.
there on Monday, and he was swimming at Bondi
I
Beach.
know.
It's winter,
Yeah.
guys. It is a different vibe.
It
I took
is.
all my jackets up there.
You don't
Didn't
need
wear
them.
one of them. What's the better city, Melbourne?
Oh, no,
or
I love them
Sydney?
both. I won't be drawn into that because I think they're both. I just
Absolutely not.
No, I think they're both. Aren't we lucky to have 2 great cities that are so different? But I'm here now, and I never thought I'd live in Melbourne, but that's what happens. And I honestly waited till I was 6 months pregnant before moving down. I'm like, fine, I'll come. But I'm here, and I really love it. And I love I think it's a bit more understated. And I think a lot of people move to Sydney, and particularly in the magazine industry, everyone that I worked with had come from Adelaide, Toowoomba, Canberra. I came from a very small town to make something of yourself,
Yeah.
and so we're all there with purpose and a reason. And I think in Melbourne, you're all probably from Melbourne and you're just getting on with things.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that you didn't like that experience of being in the cold, because I feel like creativity, I like the idea of it being pouring with rain outside. And
Makes me want to sleep.
Yeah, me too. I want sunshine and to go for a run.
So LA would be have you ever done a stint in LA or
No.
anything like that?
Actually, last time I went was the first time I thought, okay, because I was in the cool bit. It was like Silver Lake, and there's a lot of Aussies there and some cool stuff happening there. I know I'm not new to figure that out, but I'd always only ever been in Hollywood, and I always felt like it would be Hamish's work that would take us there if he had something that he was doing there. But yeah, I thought maybe I could do this.
Yeah.
You've done a little stint in New York. What do you?
Yeah.
What about
that killed me.
killed you in terms of?
I love New York to visit, but it is a heavy energy city in terms of you give so much to that city and it takes so much from you and you get so much from it, but that transferal at the end of every day just shattered. And we had, Rudy wasn't even one. Oh, she just turned 1, and my son was, high energy 4-year-old, and I was trying to launch the brand over there and then work with the Australian team overnight on a big launch back here. And you shouldn't combine work and holiday and family. It was a shitty idea.
What's your relationship with journos? Because during that time, I remember Haim saying, "Oh yeah, we're going on this holiday or whatever," and then you read it in the news. It's like they're moving to New York, and then the next headline is they've decided to come home. I'm like, that's what happens when you go on a holiday. I mean, what's your relationship with journos?
As people?
No, as in
As the press?
The press. I guess that sort of broader sense where it's like, do you constantly have to worry about the things that you're writing online and how that's going to be interpreted?
Oh, sorry. You can choose to give energy to it or not, and that was a lesson we learnt. And some of the things we did was we would just not engage. And what we realised is that if you don't know it's being written, it doesn't exist. And I think we live in a small pocket of media world, like a lot of our friends, and we're all sort of in the media. So we sort of keep track of it. But outside of that, no one really knows what's going on, and nor should they, because a lot of it's bullshit. So, yeah, I guess when I write a post, my main thing is I don't want to ever offend or upset anybody. And I keep my Instagram and my copy and my work light and happy.
Yeah.
And I do even get criticised for that because it's like, oh, what about real life? And I'm like, of course I have real life.
Yeah.
But what I choose to show you guys, and this was like, as a beauty editor, you got dressed up every day and you had to look like a beauty editor because you were representing the magazine out in the world. And I feel like that's what I'm doing on Instagram. I'm dressing up for you, and I'm that's what the face that I choose to show to you.
I look at some of the articles that may be misleading, and I click through to the journos, and I also go down the trail to see the young journo that's written a hit piece or something. I just wonder if they obviously don't have the mantra of being nice to people, don't write things that aren't.
Well, they're doing their job as well, right? And so the problem is
they're on a learning. It will be a hard learning curve, though. I think it's
well. What are they getting? What are they getting?
Who's teaching them?
Yeah.
Like, what are they learning, really? It's. I mean, I feel like the metric is so dubious because it's based on clicks, attention, and what is most outrageous? What's going to inspire the biggest, click? And I think that's a terrible way to learn journalism. I think it's a really poisonous way to learn how to write. So I feel sorry for them, because my training as a journo was learning in a team of collaborators who were putting together a magazine and working together to be better, to do good work. And so I know that they need a job, and I hope that they find a better one.
What would you say to you're getting a lot of requests and just sort of that inbound stuff of whether it be brands or people reaching out for a bunch of different things. What's your thoughts or mantra around that stuff that maybe you could pass on to people who are wanting to reach out or requesting things from people within the media?
Oh, I'm a terrible one to ask, because we don't accept unsolicited stuff.
Yeah.
We don't need it, and we don't want it in our house. So, it's a funny one. I think if something's good, it will find you. And I think, I do want to help out small business and so on, but I think people's etiquette is missing a bit. But I also realise that I personally make it hard for them, because we won't accept it through our management and, DMs. Yeah, it's not the way to. It's not professional.
Yeah. Oh, the amount of people that had DM'd Gary Vee and said, "Can I have an internship?" Like one guy even got up and said, "I'm the guy from the DMs that you said no to." Sorry about that.
But I guess the thing is that the empathy lens is people just don't know what the fuck they're doing. Everyone's just trying to. We're all trying to do it.
And
so
it might hit. Yeah. You never know.
And so what's the weapon? Like if you were to say, like, "Hey, this is actually to enable people to be better," is there an answer?
Oh, I don't know. I think you just have to believe in your work and do good work. As someone asked me the other day, a barista, she was like, "How do I get my graphic design out there? What's the thing?" And I remember a lot of young writers would say to me, "How do I get my work seen?" And I was like, start a blog. And this was a long time ago. But I always believed in specificity. So just be the person who writes about choc peanut butter brownies. Be that person and be the best at it. And be specific, because generic is not going to cut through. No one needs another food blog.
Yeah.
We want just the brownie girl. So I said to her, what's your Instagram? And she said, I don't really have one up to date. I'm like, no. First thing people are going to look at. Yeah. You have to make your portfolio so good. And I said, and what we get is a lot of beautiful designers is that they'll design our go-to products. So they'll draw it up in their specific way and then tag us. And I'm like, that's clever. Show us your work.
Yeah.
Don't ask something. Don't ask us to take you on yet. Let us see your work.
How do you know?
Let us find you.
How do you know when to do the ask? Because I think one of the things
that's hard.
Like the feedback that Tommy and I get all the time is how underleveraged we are, not like in regards to the network we have, because we respect like the people who we're connected with, we're friends with, we want to be like, it's not transactional for us. Having you on the Daily Talk Show is about actually having a conversation. It's not about trying to push our numbers up.
Which is why I'm here. Yeah, because you can tell that, you can feel that.
And so, I mean, how do you think about those things? I'm wondering if there's any clarity that you have on that stuff. About the knowing when to ask. Yeah. So I guess there is that, like, especially coming from the Monday thing, which is just like tall poppy syndrome, like you need to get out there and all that sort of thing. Whereas we're coming from it from the thoughtful lens of we're planning on doing this show for 10 years.
Yeah, at what episode do we ask? So you could do 400 and then you go, 500 is the number. Then we might start trying to pull in favours. But then is that the right number?
Yeah.
Is it 600?
And so part of it is a level of not imposter syndrome, but just being like, oh, we haven't arrived.
But I think that is enough for people to understand. The fact that you guys are mindful of that and that you don't want to call in favours, that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Because people can sense when they're being used and people can sense when, like some people will write to me and say, I have a small business. It would be really helpful to me if you could post about it.
Yeah.
I know that it would be helpful. It would be very helpful to me if Kim Kardashian would use GoTo. Yeah. But you have to do the work and get noticed and you can't. I think there's this shortcut culture now because of DMs and things like that where people just go, I've made a thing and you're a famous person. I'm going to connect the two. But having said that, sometimes it flies.
Yeah.
But I think most of the time the work has to do the work, not the ask. And you have to earn the ask, if that makes sense. Because like I think back to, and the sense of entitlement that some people come through with, whereas what I would ask, like when I was very young and working for Mia Friedman, I was like this the whole time, like, and I think that respect for people who are able to help you and able to offer you advice and so on, it still has to be there.
Yeah.
What do you look for in a young person that joins the go-to team?
Well, we just hired, and I look for talent. Obviously, I think you can train people to do anything.
Was it hard? So is talent hard?
It was
skills?
copy. It was copy.
Okay.
So it's obviously something I'm very hardcore about.
So you're looking for a hard skill, obviously.
Yeah, I'm looking for hard. I'm looking for talent.
And
That
so,
skill. I
and
think
because so the difference is, are you trying to get, if someone writes like Zoë Foster Blake, is that what you like? I could imagine, because you've got such a distinct style. If I was a copywriter going in there,
Don't write like me.
yeah,
No, no.
I think that could be an easy trapping
Yeah.
for people of like, I'm going to, if I can write something that sounds like Zoe,
Yeah.
that's what Zoe's going to want.
Which I would understand that.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
makes sense. But I think what you had to think about was more the brand. So we set up the parameters for this person or these people to write about. And we said, here's what it is, this is the product and this is the launch, and we gave them a scenario and then we let them go. And then those who showed promise, I was like, okay, now I'm going to teach you the words I would never use.
Yeah.
And just to help you know what I'm looking for. And then by that second round, beautiful.
What are some of those words?
Oh, it pertains to a new launch, so I can't talk about it.
Okay.
It's sorry, that's such a silly answer. But I have pet hate words, and I think because the go-to tone is its own tone,
Yeah.
but it's come from my brain, obviously. But now the girls and the women, that write for go-to have mastered their go-to tone.
Would you ever say silky skin? Silky, okay.
Silky's fine.
Okay.
What is
good.
this?
Yeah,
Silky
silky
smooth.
skin.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my
silky
baby,
smooth.
my baby's bum.
It's more like
Very
words
simple.
like, we don't say babe. Like,
Okay, yeah, sure.
you have certain tone for each brand that you have your words that you do and you don't.
I mean, that's what Frank Body would like.
yeah, and
is,
that's their word.
Hey,
yeah,
nailed
but
it.
it doesn't necessarily hit with everyone. I know, like Brie was always like, it doesn't sit with me
Yeah.
that style, but it will sit with other people,
Yeah,
which is
totally.
really interesting.
I've had a few businesses and I've thought about in the past tone of voice and how do I find that? What's your suggestion for someone who has a product and they don't just want it to be a box? They want it to
Well, I
have
think
personality.
Frank is actually an excellent
Mm.
example because they knew their tone from day one and they mastered it and it's perfect. And you know the tone straight away.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
fact that we straight away all just went, oh, yeah, that's Frank's word.
Mhm.
So that's a big tick. I think it's a funny one with tone because a brand isn't a person. It doesn't have a tone. You're giving it something. And I always make sure that anyone who works with GoTo has a name and a face when they're writing back to people like, hey, it's Gemma here or whoever it might be. So tone has to be authentic. You can't sustain it if it's not. So whatever you're doing, it should just flow. It should be who you are. And it depends what your product is.
Should you be putting your name? Sorry, so I think about like branding, having my own company. It's a different name to me.
It's a separate entity.
It's a separate entity, but humans connect with humans.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so
yes.
I don't want to call my company my name, but then does the brand, say if you do have a business, big media company, is it just us? Is it actually just Josh and I? Is it our voice? Is that what we should be pushing into it to then create its identity or its tone?
I think so for you too, I
Yeah.
would say. Yeah, I would say so because people know who you guys are and they already like it.
Mm.
So that you've already got that base there.
And so is there a move, I guess, on that scaling piece? People who create businesses that scale would say, okay, well, we can't lean on one person. Like we know that the Daily Talk Show, there's no exit strategy for the Daily Talk Show because
Yeah.
it's us.
Yeah.
Has that been a conversation?
Well, this is for our work week. This is when
Yeah.
I learnt this because Tim Ferriss taught me about an automated business.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything you do as a writer or as a comic or as an actress or a TV presenter is you. You're the only one
Yeah.
who can do it. And that's actually not a great way to ever give yourself a break, for one thing. So GoTo is now my automated business. It has a lot of me through it, obviously, and I'm front and center, but it can run without me.
Yeah.
And that's a huge relief. Because now when I do write a book or something that can only be done by me, it's sort of more enjoyable because it's me. It's back to me. Two different things.
I think it's did the US market push that even further? Because I guess your status within the US versus the Australian market, did you feel like was it an opportunity to say, okay, am I going to push myself forward as the thought leader within this, or am I going to talk more about the product itself?
Yeah, great question. And we had to get advice on that from our US agency, but their position was very much that you need a founder. Like if you've got a talking head who's got experience in the industry, that's far more valuable than just going, here's a brand and fall in love with it. So you need that founder to handhold and bring them through and go, this is my journey, this is why I created this. And particularly if you've been in the beauty industry, that adds that level of credibility. So yeah, they were all for it. And they were like, you're so cute and different. And like, you have short curly hair and you're not like the other founders.
So was that video? Because I remember distinctly the video that you brought out where you got the coffee cup and you're walking around. It felt like an international play in some regards.
It was for Sephora in the US, yeah. So it was we had to very quickly and visually and tonally present the brand in like 1 minute. And it's not something we were used to, because you got to remember we were direct to consumer, so we had a direct line back and forth with the customer, and suddenly we're now like going into a store and we're like with an American customer who's never heard of us and doesn't care, and we're trying to very quickly cement our tone and that we're different. So it was a good challenge. I think we got there. I think we made it clear that we're larrikins and we're Aussie and we're silly, but our stuff actually works.
Did they point out anything that was sort of in your blind spot based on being in Australia?
No, and I think that's why America was the first market we chose to go into, because the sense of humour does work, and obviously in England it would work. But I think if you were trying to crack the Asian market, perhaps a lot of the translation of our slang and all the makeup words, I make up so many words that have got through. Yeah, it would be tricky.
Well, I was listening to Gemma Watts, her podcast with the founder of Bondi Sands. So it was interesting how he was really talking about that Australiana or like pushing that the Australian tan.
It's very trendy right now.
Yeah, I mean, was the
Bondi one specifically?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Melbourne tan is horrendous.
That wouldn't fly, would it?
No, absolutely not.
Imagine a product called St Kilda Tan.
St Kilda Tan. Looks like a latte, that sort of colour.
That's actually good.
Yeah. So what's the all your thoughts on their perception of Australia and what sort of products the Australian market make? And I guess the other point is like Rode, the microphone brand, which is all these mics, they actually have a fancy on the O. It looks like some sort of like Swedish European sort of thing as a way to look more Euro. They're an Australian. They're based in Sydney.
Funny.
They manufacture in Sydney. What was that for you? What was the thought process for you with that?
It was funny because A Beauty, which is the thing now, which is like, because it started with K Beauty, which is Korean beauty, and Koreans sort of changed the whole skincare market around a couple of years ago. And now A Beauty is a big thing, which is great for us. And Frank bought another Aussie brands because Australian beauty is having a moment. And when people think of Australian beauty, they think of, Kakadu plum, domestic ingredients that we use from, like, I think they think that it's just we go out and get some shrubs and put them up like this, and there's a lifesaver and a kangaroo walks past. And like, it was actually funny to see some of the articles written because they're still using the tropes from like Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah.
But
perfect with the shrimp on a barbie.
Exactly. But our skincare is so sophisticated that they appreciate it and they like it and they're talking about it and using it. So we're grateful.
Yeah. What does premium mean?
Premium?
Yeah, to you as a brand.
Oh, go-to as a brand? Oh, I don't think of us as a premium brand. I think of us as a premium brand internally because our quality control and our products and our ingredients are of such high standards. But in terms of where we placed ourselves in the market and our price point, we wouldn't be considered premium. Yeah,
it's interesting because like so much of that is also just like marketing as well, like the difference between like you'd be using the same product.
We could use the same vessel and the same lotion and change the label and we could call ourselves premium and charge $40 more. But I came into GoTo going, I just want skincare to be easy for people and I want it to be accessible and relatable. And you don't get that when you're charging $90.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Zoë Foster Blake,
hello.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming on the show.
We can eat these now off camera.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's one like we've had some pretty crazy stuff that we've eaten on Fat Fridays, which is
shrimp on the barbie.
Oh yeah.
No, I haven't done that
yet. But thanks for coming on the show.
My super pleasure.
If you want to send us an email, hi@thedailytalkshow.com. We don't get many emails, so we respond to. Well, we now respond to them. There was a time about a week where we weren't actually getting emails from a technical issue.
We stuffed it. Zoe, recommendation for book. I know you like recommending. What are you reading at the moment?
Well, Small Giants for people in marketing business. And I've just finished 3 Women by Lisa Toledo, which is fantastic. And it's amazing. But I won't be the only person to tell you that. And Euphoria, far out TV show.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, recommend it?
I would.
I'm not convinced.
I would. But I'm sorry, this is the problem with expectation because everyone's like, it's the best one Tarantino's ever made. And I've got Kill Bill in my mind and I'm like, that's phenomenal. And it's just slow. It's a slower pace. Less violence.
I mean, you don't like watching long films? Do you have a short attention span?
I appreciate a good edit though. I do have a small attention span. I do, because I'm always tired by the end of the day.
If you've enjoyed the show, screen grab it, share it on Instagram so we know you're listening. Otherwise, we'll see you for Weekend Banter on Saturday.
See you guys.
Catch ya.